it's a good morning, Nigeria. It's Tuesday, January the 16th. We're almost there. Yes. Welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
Good morning and welcome. Remember, if you've never made a mistake before, you've never really tried at all. So go out there and try again. Welcome to the Morning Brief. I am Bukola Koka.
Well, we'll do our very best to make sure that you have a very beautiful day beginning from this very moment. That's our responsibility right here on the Morning Brief. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma.
Oh, funny story, guys. The song that came to mind this morning was "It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas." And I'm like,
on January 16th.
I don't get it. You know, I didn't sing the song during Christmas and it just bumps into your head. I wonder how you do that thing when a song keeps replaying in your head. It keeps replaying whether you like it or not. That's what's happening to me right now. Well, it's beginning to
I think January not moving fast is your personal responsibility, or you're responsible for it. So okay. The rest of us are actually looking ahead to January the 31st.
So I should perish the Christmas stuff.
Maybe it's a bit escapist for some people. Yeah. That kind of memory, maybe just escape the reality that January you're not moving as fast as I want you to move.
So I tell you guys.
Let me just stay in the Yuletide for a bit. Maybe when I wake up from the Yuletide, I'll find myself on 31st. And I'm like,
right?
Where's the alert?
Okay. Coping mechanisms.
After all, it's my life. It's my brain, right?
Yeah, we're talking a lot about coping mechanisms. Yeah. A good way to go, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Exactly. So just find a way to make yourself happy. Things are quite difficult in the country and around the world, not just Nigeria. So. Sure. Hey, whatever makes it work, whatever works for you, if it's a Christmas song on January 16th in your head, like Kayode, play it as much as you can. Don't remove it from your playlist, as long as it helps you to do the best you can as much as possible. So that's exactly what life is all about. Sometimes you just wake up, it's a song, it's a thought, it's a motivation. Sometimes you don't know where it's coming from. You just want to get things done. So maybe something in your spirit is pushing you to do, make some advancement, because at some point as human beings, you want to make progress. You just get bored at a particular point and you want to take up that challenge and get to the next level of your life and see how far it goes. And the truth is that in making changes in your life, you must not always know the end from the beginning. Just trust that there's an end. Forget the process. Just get started first. And just, if you believe in God, let's see how it plays out at the end of the day. Don't be afraid. Do it scared, they say. Yeah.
Tuesday motivation from Jeffrey this morning, and it's well taken. So go ahead, go just so far with what you have and leave the rest to God. Yeah. So thank you for joining us on the Morning Brief this morning. Kayode, what do we have?
What are we looking at, man?
It's a bumper package. So here's what the show looks like today. Well, the spate of kidnapping for ransom and reports of killings in the nation's capital, Abuja, has sent shockwaves down the spines of residents and others outside the FCT. So this morning, we get answers to some of those questions you have been asking, plus the story behind insecurity in the nation's capital, which is, by the way, meant to be one of the most secure places in the country.
Absolutely. It's, truly a paradox. Now, from job hunting to job creation, the remarkable stories of resilient Nigerians who are turning the disappointment in the labor market to letters of appointment, not just for themselves, by the way, but for the unemployed Nigerians as they continue to feel the wide unemployment gap with an entrepreneurship spirit and sheer grit. We'll bring you those stories this morning. You don't want to miss any part of it.
And as we're trying to contemplate those numbers, the president again has stirred the waters with his statement in Owerri yesterday. And of course, the president is saying new appointment into, okay, let's see how it goes at the end of the day. But we're going to get there at some point because there's a stirring of the water. We'll bring that story to you on our top story. But for now, the creative industry has been repurposed for some creative reasons, and that's why we now have the beloved art, culture, and creative industry. And we see some familiar names on the list to make sure that that creative industry is explored as much as possible so that the country harnesses the potential is been untapped or has not been untapped for quite a while, but we're going to see those numbers increase if the right things are done. So today we're going to have one of your fans, or you're one of your favorites, you're seeing him on your screen. His name, well, you know him as Spiff. He'll be joining us later on the show to explore exactly what we should expect from this repurposed creative industry. Oh, wow. It's going to be a bumper package today on the show. I almost went ahead of myself, but I had to track myself back.
It's the excitement of morning breakfast. Okay, you're forgiven. So you can share your thoughts with us. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief on X or on our WhatsApp number, which you, of course, see from time to time on your screen. Let us hear from you. We're taking your comments, your messages. And if you have videos that are newsworthy, do send them our way. Bring them here. Let us get your voices heard. We have some weather for you, by the way, some advisory from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency as well. So, gentlemen, ladies, this
is the Morning Brief.
Absolutely. We're back with the top stories in a moment. Stay with us. These are the stories shaping the conversation for today. We begin with the president's response to the exodus of skilled workers from the country, or in more contemporary lingo, what is now known as Japa. And the president is asking Nigerians not to be bothered about it, with an assurance that the federal government, in collaboration with subnationals, will train more persons to fill the conspicuous professional gap in various sectors and even export more. Well, President Bola Tinubu was in Owerri, the Imo State capital, for the second-term inauguration of Governor Hope Uzodinma and his deputy, Ugochinyere Ekomaru, where he added that the education of children and youths is a priority for the APC administration. He also assured the people of the Southeast of improved security and peace.
For me to be here in Imo State, to congratulate the entire people of Imo State for being that discerning and determined to vote into a second term a very unique individual that resonates with a progressive agenda. We are here assuring you that your hopes and your hope are renewed.
Well, he said as much and even more. You can find that full conversation on our YouTube page. But it's another week, and another former minister is in the news over allegations of fraud. Well, this time, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arrested a former Minister of Commerce and Industry, Charles Ugu, for an alleged conspiracy and fraud to the tune of 3.6 billion naira. Now, according to a statement by the agency's spokesperson, Mr. Dele Oyewale, he was arrested alongside one Chief Jeffrey Ekema on January the 11th in Owerri, the Imo State capital, following a petition from a new generation bank on the alleged fraud perpetrated through Ebony Agro Industries Limited, which is a company said to be linked to the ex-minister. Mr. Ugu was appointed minister in 2007 by late President Yar'Adua and removed in 2008. The suspects are expected to be charged to court as soon as investigations are concluded. We continue to follow that story for you. Moving on now, amid reports of a killing of 3 out of 10 people recently kidnapped in the nation's capital, that's Abuja. Well, the FCT Commissioner for Public Complaints is appealing to the federal government to immediately declare a state of emergency in that city. Well, Mr. Delhantu Ezekiel also wants the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, to suspend all ongoing projects, if need be, to address this pertinent issue, while recommending the adoption of a civilian joint task force in the rural communities to combat that menace. Well, let's now bring you more on the program this morning. Security is not the only concern in the nation's capital. Education is also top on that list. As parents of students in public primary schools preparing their children for school this morning might be in for disappointment, as their teachers under the Nigeria Union of Teachers, NUT, have fixed today to resume their suspended strike until further notice. And they say the strike action will only come to an end if they receive their arrears. But it might even get worse, as secondary school teachers will join in solidarity from Friday, January the 19th, if no action is taken by the federal government. Now let's talk politics now. Members of a group known as the PDP Rebirth Movement are calling for the resignation of the party's Board of Trustees acting chairman, Senator Adolfo Swabara, describing his continuous stay in office as illegal. Well, the convener of the group is hinging that demand on the PDP constitution, which he says has no provision for an acting Board of Trustees chairman. The group also blames the PDP's failure to win presidential elections for 3 consecutive cycles on what it describes as impunity within the party. Let's talk business now. The annual World Economic Forum meeting has kicked off in Davos, Switzerland, with high expectations that the deliberations will cover the explosion of artificial intelligence and how leaders should think about innovation and regulation. With over 1,600 business leaders expected, including 800 CEOs and 60 heads of government, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima is leading the Nigerian delegation with the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. That's Mr. Wale Edu, speaking to our London correspondent Janela Olayinka on Nigeria's strategy at the global event.
Well, we're here this week led by His Excellency, the Vice President Kashim Shettima, leading the Nigerian delegation to this all-important dialogue. We have made it a point to be part of the conversation, to be in the room all around the world this year, from the Paris Financing Summit all the way through to, of course, UNGA and COP28. Not forgetting the World Bank annual meetings. I think the important topics of the day now are climate change and more and more generative AI, or artificial intelligence in particular. And it's important that we as Nigerians are here. We are the largest country in Africa. We do have an important role to play. And so we're here to make our voices heard and to also tell our own story of progress, our own story of making Nigeria an investment destination.
So sports now. Who's your GOAT? In the sporting context, of course. Well, Lionel Messi seems to be winning that argument as he won FIFA's The Best Award for the 3rd time just yesterday, pipping Manchester City's Erling Haaland to the prize for the best men's player in 2023. Well, Messi's latest award is coming just 3 months. That's right, 3 months, the 3rd in a row, after he became Ballon d'Or champion for a record-breaking 8th time. Meanwhile, another winner of Ballon d'Or, Aitana Bonmati, was crowned FIFA's Women's Player of the Year after winning the World Cup with Spain and leading Barcelona to Champions League glory during an exceptional 2023. Well, the 25-year-old completed a clean sweep of individual accolades for the past 12 months, after also winning the Ballon d'Or, Golden Ball for Player of the World Cup, and UEFA's Player of the Year. Hey, the argument continues as to who the GOAT is, right? Well, let's talk boxing. It's official. Anthony Joshua will face MMA fighter Francis Ngannou in a heavyweight contest on March the 8th in Saudi Arabia. It was revealed earlier this month that the former boxing heavyweight world champion and ex-UFC heavyweight world champion had signed to meet in a 10-round boxing bout. Now, the exact date has now been confirmed, as the pair met and faced off for the very first time at their launch press conference. Now, according to the promoter, Frank Warren, the winner, hopefully Joshua, right, could challenge the victor of Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk's undisputed heavyweight title clash that's later this year. So all eyes on that match, March the 8th. Now, Houthi rebels have hit a US-owned container ship with a ballistic missile off the coast of Yemen. And that's according to the US Military Command for the Middle East, CENTCOM, which says that the vessel, Gibraltar Eagle, reported no injuries or significant damage and is continuing on its journey in the Gulf of Aden. Iranian-backed Houthis have been attacking ships since November, and that's in protest against Israel's war, which is, of course, happening against Hamas. So those are the top stories that will shape conversation. They're developing some of them. But let's now take a look at what you are saying across social media platforms. Guys, let's do this together, shall we?
Yeah,
of course.
Loads of stories.
But I wonder what stands out for you, all of those top stories that we spoke about. Jeffrey Bukola, which of them stood out for you?
I think I'm a bit more concerned about the president's assertion. I know the president is used to making very brave bold assertions, but what we need now is beyond bold and brave assertions. We need action, a lot more. If you look at the unemployment numbers, even though the MBS has given us this new methodology that, a lot of us do not agree with, because policymakers, it may be a bit deceptive at 4.2%, but in reality, if you flip it the other way around, it's about 30-something% and all of that. And you look at the number of doctors that left between 2015 to last year, almost 10,000. We did a documentary about that. Look at the number of people that have been killed, according to National Security Tracker, when we're not in a war situation. I was looking at the trajectory of our GDP from when we were at 4.2 in 1960 to when it spiked from in 1980 at 64%. At 64 billion to 164 when it was a boom. And the biggest ever we've ever attained was in 2014 when we had about $500-something billion. Now it has come down, and this government has to do a lot to make sure that GDP goes up.
That's
at the end of the day.
Increase.
Yes,
is not as much as, even though the value is way more than it used to
because
be.
I don't know what they did, what action was taken in, say, in 1998 before the military took over. It was quite high, and then it dipped significantly. But during the Obasanjo era, President Obasanjo era, went as high all the way till Goodluck Jonathan's era, former President Goodluck Jonathan, to about over $500 billion, where we now became the African giant. But from then it's been dipping. So this government has a responsibility to make sure that the GDP grows steady to the $1 trillion aspiration. But it's great to make bold statements and encourage people that we're going to do this. But action, Mr. President, is what is needed. Because when we look at the numbers don't pan out right. And it's beyond words. Economists and all of that, this is what we look at. And if it doesn't play out here, then statements are not enough.
What I always find curious, guys, is the stock exchange. In spite of all of this, the stock exchange is always doing well. So this needs to be looked at. Apparently, people are investing. People are seeing this as a business destination to invest in, or at least to keep their money in. So
in fact, it went as high as 72,000 points at some point. In fact, what economists are looking at, they are thinking that if our economy improves, maybe the stock exchange will now dip, more like a converse relation, because the economy...
Both of them can stay high.
Yeah.
Let's hope for
and
that.
Jeffrey, was it you that we were having that conversation with just yesterday about whether or not the economy is upbeat? The banking sector, always records profit. But your analysis is, right on the money, particularly about that target, by the government to have a $1 trillion economy in 10 years. So what are they doing about it? We can tie that to the efforts of the administration, to market Nigeria to the outside world. Speaking of which, let's take a look at what the Vice President is doing at the World Economic Forum. We heard the Minister of Finance saying that we want to tell our own stories. We want to tell the story of our progress and about how Nigeria is a conducive environment for all those investors to bring in their money. But what exactly is happening back home? We can look at security. We can look at the economic environment. We can look at Forex. So what are they doing to make all of those conditions attractive? And then the agreements that the president had signed during his, trips around the world.
India,
at the
Saudi
beginning
Arabia.
Of his administration. Yes. So those investments, the Siemens deal, have they kicked off? Have they created investment in the economy? So let's look at all of that and see the success that they're able to record in the next 1 year. The targets that have been given to all of those ministers will also be under scrutiny.
All right.
So speaking of what to look out or what to look at, let's look at what you're saying across social media platform. We're starting with X, of course, and one of the biggest trends, guys, is Abuja, the nation's capital, the seat of power. Well, it's actually at the heart, just right in the middle of a country. So all eyes are on Abuja, but not for the very best reasons, for security, kidnappings, and the rest. So this is what people are saying. You are saying, I should say, Daniel Emeka, speaking about the spate of kidnappings in Abuja, says that what I want to understand, now this is from Daniel Emeka, is kidnappers raided an estate in Abuja, communicated their demands, came back to dump bodies of those that couldn't pay, went back to renew communication of their demands in Abuja, and no one knows who they are or where they went. Haba, he says.
Everyone is just as nonplussed as Daniel Emeka. Listen to this one. Curious name, by the way, Public Enemy. They say, how have they been communicating with the victims' families? Via phone, I suppose, so the identities can't be traced, or what? That's Public Enemy's question this morning.
That's Livingston.
Now, this is coming from Emmanuel Iweka. He says, is it that the federal government doesn't have money to buy coal tracker equipment, or the company manufacturing it won't supply to Nigeria, or federal government has ordered it but is yet to be delivered, or the trace won't work in the forest, or nobody in Nigeria knows how to operate it? Help me understand.
Lots of questions, and we're essentially bringing all of these out so we can get answers, or like seek to get answers on the show this morning. We'll take a look at this next one from Balogu Ridwan. It says, when will the security agencies collaboratively wow the whole Nigerians? Is it that in terms of resource generation and well-coordinated counterattack can be implemented? That's a question. So lots of questions for Nigerians.
And this one is from Apostle Emmanuel Iren. He says, the security situation in Abuja is terrible. We don't talk about it enough. The ease and audacity with which these things happen is alarming. Yet there is little or no urgency to curb this ticking time bomb.
There's a lot. People are asking questions, and the authorities, what they need to do is to provide answers at the end of the day. The Constitution is very clear, Section 14(2)(b). The security and welfare of these citizens, of all of us, is the primary responsibility of government. And of course, if you can't meet that standard or meet that threshold, people will consider that government maybe a failure. But let's see how it goes. Mrs. A says, it's sad, but not just Abuja, Kaduna, Abuja Highway, Kogi, and its roads, Benue, and its road, Enugu, Imo, Ogun State, and its roads. Then screamed, Nigeria!
Yeah, we all want Nigeria to work, absolutely.
We all want it to work.
So Abuja is a big trend, but trending alongside Abuja is SIM. That's the NIN, that's the National Identification Number, and the SIM. Recall that we all went out for that registration some years back, and it was compulsory. Still is compulsory if you want to have a mobile phone. And then the idea around that then was, aside the fact that every Nigerian gets some sort of identity, it also helps security agencies to track, kidnappers, pinpoint where they are, because they make phone calls, send messages to the families of the abductees. So it helps security agencies to get in on them, arrest them, and of course secure the release of the kidnapped victims. But take a look at what people are asking about this one. It began with Professor Issa Pantami's statement on X some days ago, and he talked about NIN-SIM policy working. Remember, he oversaw that when he was in government. He now says, however, the relevant institutions fighting criminality are to be requested to ensure they utilize it effectively when a crime is committed. Goes on to say a lack of utilizing it is a main problem and not the policy. So I got a lot of people asking, how come? This doesn't make sense. So take a look at Rockcross 17 saying, which phone number do kidnappers use to call victims? MTN, Glo, Etisalat, which is 9 Mobile, Airtel, should block all numbers not linked to NIN. We need sensitization everywhere. I mean, what we've seen also is that some of the kidnappers use the mobile devices of the victims. But that's not to say those questions should not be asked. Why can't they be traced?
This one is from Peace. Peace says, which phone number do kidnappers use to call victims?
Which is what I just took.
Which is what you just took. So the next one is this one from Lawal Adewale. Dr. Pantami, even when you made linking NIN to SIM compulsory, we didn't see any kidnapper tracked down using these techniques. In fact, some axes of Katsina, Kaduna, Zamfara, etc. had their networks shut down for a while due to outrageous kidnapping. Why are you saying it is working? Well, the former minister did say that it had been harmonized, and I think we went through that yesterday, and he was wondering why it hasn't been deployed, hasn't been utilized. So I think that question should be put back to the security agencies, particularly the police force, and our, Twitter, our ex-users are writing, asking, do the police not have trackers. Recall many years ago when the former Minister of Finance was abducted, the president ordered that the security agencies must prioritize his rescue, and indeed that we saw that he was rescued within a period of time, and in fact, his abductors have been prosecuted.
That's Chief Olufalaye.
Chief Olufalaye.
Right.
So why isn't the same approach deployed to rescuing ordinary Nigerians?
I remember as well that the time, I think the CBN governor then, Godwin Emefiele, I think his mother or his wife was also kidnapped at some point.
Oh, the former minister.
No, I think the CBN
mother.
Konjiwala's mother.
mother.
This is coming from Engineer Abubakar Muda. What is here to track when terrorists use victims' phones to call their families in a different location? Dr. Pantami, while enough, is lied to the former president, according to him. That's Buhari, former President Buhari, that the NIM SIM will help security agencies and terrorism. But it turns out to be a hoax. He says enough of hypocrisy. Somebody actually said, and it's quite difficult not to believe that after God is government, and the reason they made that assertion is because the government has literally all the infrastructure. If the government is not coming for you, it's because probably they don't want to come for you. So sometimes for people who speculate that some of these people are embedded in the system to be able to make this to happen, it's difficult not to believe. It is quite difficult not to believe. But the authorities, they are to answer for themselves at the end of the day. They are the ones to answer for themselves, because if we go to the bank, we have BVN, NIN, all sorts of things, numbers, we queue every time and again. They give us deadline. Everybody takes that responsibility to make sure, okay, we're great citizens. And we're even talking about harmonizing this data so that just with a click, anybody can trace you anywhere. Mm-hmm. And these people will pick up a phone and make phone calls and collect the money. How are they collecting the money?
And in such brazen manner. But
absolutely.
So you have asked the questions, lots of questions. The goal on the show today is to seek to get answers to those questions and even get you the stories behind those kidnappings, the insecurity we're witnessing in the FCT, even in Kaduna as well. That's what we're focusing on in just a moment. So stay with us right here on the Morning Brief. Don't forget, #CTV Morning Brief. If you have a message, if you have anything to share with us, you can send it to our WhatsApp number as well. So let's get right into this in just a moment. Stay with us.
I'm a resident in this Esangwari layout. I live here for more than 10 years. It has happened. It has happened. How do we condole it won't happen again? For my own suggestion, as a citizen of this country, we all have part to play when something happens. But this particular one now, to be sincere, police was here about 20 minutes or 25 minutes when those guys left with those 10 people, 7 children and 3 adults. Supposing that those police, they are indigene, who knows the terrain of this particular route they take? Because that particular route, from here you can go to Pape, from here you can go to Smandam, from here you can go to Buhari, from there you can go to DSS quarter, from here you can go lead to Kubwa Road. So it's a very big place. How I wish that the chiefs, community police, will have community police. The chiefs or whosoever in charge here will call Pape to give them support. If they start from Pape to comb them, from Dawaki to comb them, there is no how. But allow those 4 police, maybe they are Igbo or maybe they are Yoruba, to chase people in the bush, 7 around to 8, inside bush and Gwari land. My brother, it's difficult. If government want to help us, if they really want to help us, like in this Abuja now, they have so many Gwari boys available for them to employ as a security. If they don't want to arm them, let them employ them as immigration. Let them, so informants, as immigration informants, so that they will give in the military information what is happening. So those immigration boys without arm, they can go to the bush and find out the movement they are seeing inside the bush. Say, oh, so that's my own suggestion.
looks like we're not bereft of those ideas, really, from citizens on X, on social media, to citizens on the streets. So what exactly is happening? Why is there a disconnect? Let's get into the conversation this morning. We're joined on the program by Yunusa Yusuf, who's a convener, Kagarko Local Government Area Youths, joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the Morning Brief. And right here in our Lagos studio, Onyekachi Adekoya, a security consultant. Good morning, Mr. Adekoya.
Thank you for having me.
I'll begin with Yunusa Yusuf, because I know that Kagarko has been mentioned a lot, because it's been said that these attackers have penetrated the forest around Igu, Runji communities under Kawu district, which shares a boundary with Kagarko local government area, as well as Kaima forest. So there was a protest, I know, by Kagarko youths, essentially raising awareness about the security situation. Can you speak to us? Has anything changed? What is the state of security right now? And about the kidnappings, what do you know about it?
Oh, okay. First of all, I want to thank you for being a people-oriented TV station, and then coupled with the fact that Channels TV is a victim of the insecurity that have bedeviled this country. I remember when Friday Okegbere was kidnapped, and we're all looking for how to rescue him. So Channels, I don't think you should joke with security issues that have almost consumed everybody in this country. Almost. I mean, about 70% of Nigerians are living in fear. I think somebody will help me to confirm that. Now, in Kagarko local government, as a young man, I think I have severally contributed money just to be able to rescue some of our people in the hands of the kidnappers. In several cases, they asked us to bring bikes, they asked us to bring Bajaj, which is about ₦1 million, foodstuffs. They serve us letters, which has gotten to a point where kidnappers will serve our communities letters that they are coming. And I want to say clearly, the security in this country is not helping matter. Let's be honest. The technological approach towards security is shameful. What we have is physical security, where police will stop you just to harass you, or soldiers will stop you and ask you where you're going. That is rubbish to me. Sorry if that language is not too nice for consumption. But we cannot continue practicing what we are practicing in this country in this way. You cannot be too visible and you expect those kidnappers, after you pass, and then later they will come, attack communities, go unchallenged. In this country, we have seen a situation where kidnappers will take a whole 30 people in a community, like part of our communities. The day we protested, just that morning, even as we were trying to raise alarm, 7 people were kidnapped in Jidna community under Kagarko. Now, between the boundary of Buhari and just around Barangoni, they kidnap people. In Kau, they kidnap people. All the surrounding communities, the border communities within the FCT are being surrounded by not the military or the security agencies, but by the kidnappers. The kidnappers have taken over the job of the security agencies in Nigeria. What a shame. Now, what I'm asking here is that what baffles me the most, how will the rich always carry heavy number of security men, use sirens to pass all the routes and pass successfully and peacefully, safely, but the poor will not be able to sleep at night? Something has to be done. Why would the Chief of Defense Staff and also the IG of police continuously attach a lot of manpower to the Nigerian big men or the people in power? Why do they need so much security if the security is meant for all of us? Is it not the same taxpayers' money that all of them are benefiting from, which I am part of? So something must be done. They must be able to tell us. Now, just of recent, 2 days ago, they kidnapped people in my village. I have the chefs.
the expanded bullets. I have their serial number. They should tell me who owns those bullets. How were they imported into this country? The government should answer those questions. There are police special bullets, there are army special bullets. Where was the last place those bullets were taken to? Who is the armorer that received them? Nigerian government should stop lying to us. They should stop telling me lies as a young man. Nigeria is not safe. This country is not safe for anybody. President Tinubu should wake up to his duty. We cannot continue like this. In the FCT now, as I speak to you, it is shameful that in an estate, kidnappers will invade an estate, cut away with people, go unchallenged. Nobody is talking about it. As I speak to you now, within the FCT, most of the bus stops are occupied by picking pockets, or how you describe them. So you begin to wonder, if the FCT is not safe, neighboring communities are not safe, what happened to somebody who is a bit far away?
What a dire scenario you have painted. And I mean, these things have been in the news. We have been reporting them, but having you narrate them yet again just brings it close to home. And let me bring in Mr. Adekoya on this one. Your thoughts, really?
Firstly, it's a very sad one. Our thoughts and prayer goes out to the people of Kakago, Wari, all those communities. I've said several times on air that Maiduguri is safer than Abuja, and I've been saying this for 4 years now. And I would encourage your producers to dig up those clips. I've said it several times. The sad thing is that Abuja was not designed for the common man, structurally. And the way we are projected force in Abuja and our formations and deployments, Abuja is supposed to be the seat of power, and then we protect that seat. Every other thing outside the 3-arm zone is not adequately planned for. So there has to be a review of what we have in Abuja, and it must not be done by the current people who are still doing the same thing, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get, sadly, the same results. Something has to change. Now, I've always said on air that our politicians sometimes unintentionally, it's not that they have bad intent, but a man cannot give what he doesn't have. If you don't understand the dynamics of security, case in point, when you are managing a kidnap or a hostage situation, it's not something for political fanfare. There are techniques and procedures for engaging, and that's what you do. When I saw that advert getting up to a certain amount, I mean, in our small network, we're saying kidnap from ransom just went off the roof, because it's 1 billion now, God knows what. And since we can crowdfund, where do we go from here? But that's on the one hand. I listened to the gentleman who gave a report, who was talking about the community. This issue of Abuja has been on for years. The police said they were going to increase formations, proving that, you see, the problem with Abuja is design and expansion. And because of the cost of land in Abuja, a lot of estates are springing up faster and beyond what the government can cope with. So the politicians, I think, are our problem. And the problem is coming home, really. So there has to be a redesign. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but state police, if you don't have state police, there's nothing you can do. And importantly, I don't want to hear, with profound respect, the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Defense Staff, they shouldn't make a comment on this issue. They have no business with it, and I'll explain to you why. And we've said several times that the army is to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria. The man has said he has expended shells. The question is, where are they coming from? If you look at the Turkey, for example, Turkey just bombed some places in Iraq. Iran did the same thing, America is the same thing. Nigeria and West Africa should be able to go after certain criminal networks beyond our borders. And we must have a military that projects fear and the fear of God into the minds of people before the threat comes inside. Once the threat has hit you at the rear, it becomes chaotic. Urban warfare is complex. The military is not shaped for this urban kind of type of conflict. It is the business of the police. Now, the military has operation in over 30 states. They have left their core mandate of protecting the territorial integrity of the country. Now busy with internal operations, the military has become over-domesticated. We backed at Niger Republic the other day. They didn't bite. We've come to that point. So these issues we see, and sadly we come on air, we talk about the same thing over and over and over again. The answer to this problem is state police. And I hope that the president is watching. I hope that the people who care to listen are listening. We need to convene independent security professionals to come and do a reassessment, not this chop-by-chop arrangement. The man said 70%. I think that's a huge number. But in terms of perspective, the perception of fear and insecurity is quite high.
By the way, a 2022 poll by NOI said 7 out of 10 Nigerians had fears about insecurity. And now it's perception.
And I also explained, because Nigeria is perceived as a medium to high risk environment, depending on where you are. In some communities, it's extreme risk. We are dealing with a widely dispersed threat. The actors are also mobile. They are highly mobile. They engage in serious maneuver operations. They know the terrain. They pick the ambush points. They understand the topography. These places that are border communities, you can just see sharing borders with Kaduna, with Niger State. So they pick their spots, and they know where to operate beyond the reach of law enforcement. And the point must be made, and I want to run up with this point, that the military is not shaped for this operation. The counter-terrorism unit of the Nigerian police force, which has been thrown to the background, must be resuscitated. How does police operate? Police comes into the community. They are more approachable. They can embed easily. They can get this information. They can engage. Now, where the issues are beyond the police, now the point I'm making is that the police must become the force multiplier to the military. Whenever you call out the military, you just know that there's a problem. You either declare a state of emergency, and every civil institution moves out of the way. The military goes in, conducts a surgical operation, and cleans out the place and comes out. So there's a big problem.
Let me take it back to our guest in Abuja, and I'll bring it back to you. You said you have these expanded shells and all of that, and we feel your pain as well as that of your community. But have you approached the security agencies? What are they telling you? What is their response? We want to hear that on air.
Well, I think even that day I led protests in Kagarko local government. The security, they came, and then to an extent, I feel that there's this demoralization from the security field men. And secondly, I feel that they don't have the courage to move into the bushes or the forest to get these bad eggs. I feel also that in most cases, the approach that comes from our leaders is not something to write home about, because they will always use the word repel. I don't understand what that means. If it is what the definition of repel means, it means the attacks have already approached the communities. That is why we are now calling that we are trying to repel as a counter-attack. Now, it is very simple. If the Nigerian security agencies are serious, I want to recommend highly that in every community, they should return back to the traditional rulers and ask for recommendation before recruitment of some of these security personnel. Let the person who is from that community be empowered and be given the government powers, which is the gun, to be able to save his own communities. Let us go back to the traditional way of guiding and saving our communities. We cannot begin to say we're deploying somebody in a community where he has no idea, he has no much interest why he should protect the grandmother in that village. He has no interest why he should protect the father in that village or his sisters. Now we must mix up with people who are directly from the community, who understand that they need to ensure that their people are alive. We cannot continuously spend money on security without getting results. I think enough of the physical security, we have lost it completely, because we used to, before now, see some spies, intelligence gathering from communities where people monitor and give reports to the police, give it to the DSS and all that. But these days, I see those people no more, I hear no more. Hardly can you get, I cannot imagine that in a community there is an informant who inform the kidnappers and tell them when to strike. But yet, we have registered our SIM cards, we were cajoled, and the government lied to us, spent time and stay on the queue. But today, as I speak to you, we can give you numbers that kidnappers will call. But yet, government cannot tell us where they are. Or rather, somebody have no boldness to go in there. So if the government feels that it has failed woefully, they should allow all of us to have access to guns, because the money we are spending on security is enough to buy my community people a gun to use. Because I know how much I have personally on my own has paid as contribution to free some of my loved ones or my close family members. So government should either allow us to have access and be registered.
Mr. Yunusa, let me ask Jeffrey's question.
Yes.
Let me ask Jeffrey's question in a different way. What's the response time, for instance, when you report a kidnap or an attack on a community? What's the response time of security agents to your community for rescue? And then when kidnaps have been done, what are the inadequacies that you observe about the security agencies when you report such kidnappings and request help in rescuing your loved ones? What are the inadequacies that you observe about the security agents?
Let me respond to you with a question. What do you think is the response of the security if somebody will be kidnapped on a barefoot? If somebody is kidnapped on a barefoot and they took the person on a barefoot, trekking into the bush, what are the security response do you think? There is no better answer that the response is poor. There is no better answer that it will take not less than 4 to 2 days before the security appears into a community. It is shameful that the security will come and what they are trying to do is to even gather intelligence from us. That is how shameful it is. So what are we saying here is the fact that they will climb the mountains, they will transport them on bikes as sometimes, or they will trek with them. Sometimes when they come back, we have to take them to hospital, spend money. You will see their legs so swollen. In fact, at every time from my record, every time the victim gains freedom, the victim will not last more than 2 years. I want you to do an analysis check on what I'm telling you. There is no victim of kidnapping within our localities that have lasted more than 2 years after the return or they get freedom. We have been losing people between October and now. I can tell you categorically, not less than 127 people. I can call with villages and names. 30 people were picking from Pape, including the chairman's senior father who was killed in the hands of the kidnappers. Kagarko local government chairman. The chairman of Buhari, they kidnapped his father some times ago. They have been kidnapping all the chairmen in the border communities. I challenge them. They are no more living in their communities. The chairman of Tafa does not live in Tafa. The chairman of Kagorko does not live in Kagorko. The chairman of Buhari does not stay anymore in Buhari. All of them have left their localities due to insecurity. So, government is not telling us the truth. Some people are responsible. The president should expose them. Nigerians want to hear. The next protest I will lead will shock everybody, because if the president cannot name the kidnappers and the sponsors of the kidnapping, it means that the Nigerians that voted for him, he has not lived to expectation. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be able to name his sponsors, because I believe.
Mr. Yunusa, I'm sure you have unending stories. Let's come to our guest in the studio. Mr. Onyekachi, you said a number of significant things earlier on. Yes. You talked about the terrain in Abuja, that it's not designed for those at the lower rung of the ladder. I want you to talk about the topography of the forests on those communities bordering Kaduna, Kagarko, Buari. What makes that topography a haven for the bandits and the kidnappers? That's on the one hand. On the other hand, you said security bosses shouldn't say much about what's happening, but they've already spoken.
No, I said the army, with profound respect, should keep quiet on the issues of internal security. Because the army speaks and seeks to take the lead, the police is not able to do their work. You understand that? The bigger problem is a cultural problem. The culture of over-reliance on the army to the detriment of the police, funding, tooling, running a professional police structure. That is how we are harming ourselves. Two, the knock-on effect is that when the president has a national security advisor, this current one is ex-police, there is a centralist, unitarianistic approach to security. So everybody becomes a sounding board from the same errors we have made over the years, saying that, for example, the police wants to employ 30,000 more policemen. That is not the solution. Every sensible approach to security must be local. Police should lead. In civilized places, you have the police, you have National Guard. The army doesn't come into the civilian center. So we are over, and what we're doing is we're improvising. The improvisation is not working. So I'm saying now that we must have state police, then federal police. For federal police, they now have to become specialized tactical crack units. For the state police, they can have their service pistols, they can have their SWAT teams. They will be numbered, they will be regulated, their arming will be measured for them. And they can be the front line, the first line of contact in the communities, in the counties, in the local governments, doing their mop-up operations and calling for backup. Now, the other question you asked was on topography. Basically, that's what you're asking. Those areas are mountainous. And the challenge is that when security forces want to respond, when we say a security man, who is a security man? He's trained to kill, not trained to die. The security of the responding team is also very, very important. The commanding officer of any unit or formation has the responsibility to bring back his people safely, because he has to deal, these are people they've dealt with. So the safety of the troops going is very important. So when you are going on a clearance operation, you don't know the terrain, you don't know what is waiting for you, you are not protected, you cannot suppress whatever it is, you basically don't know. So when he says that the security comes on ground and they're asking information, that's the first thing you do. But to make the point that the DSS has a station officer in every local government, so already there's information on the ground, but at the spot where you have an incident, the first thing you do is to gather intelligence and then you begin to plan a response. So response cannot be swift or immediate. Remember the incident that happened in Buari, behind the law school. We lost at least 7 members of the 7 Guards Brigade because they were trying also to respond, but without the sufficient tooling. And I make the point to say that the security people we have in Nigeria, they are magicians, because they are bare-chested, without adequate protection, without the required tooling, and yet they go out to confront the threat. Every day in Nigeria, police officers are dying, senior officers in the military dying, maybe not every day, but at least a member of the armed forces is dying every day in this country. They are already paying the ultimate sacrifice for the inefficiencies and for the failures that we currently have. My advice is to Mr. President, to whoever, the same way you have auditors in the financial system, get people who are not system people to come and do an audit of our security system, make direct recommendation, have an implementation committee, and drive the approach. But the governors are partners. In the last administration, there was a push to give the state police. It is on record that the State House as House of Assembly did not support the push for state police. And most people are not aware. So everybody is calling President Tinubu now. Nobody is calling their governor. The reports we got is that the governors claimed that the bill, they can't take the bill now. Where we have removed subsidy, fuel subsidy, without security there can be no prosperity. So the issue of state police really is not with the federal government now, as at the last administration. It is an issue for sincerity of purpose for the state governor. So what will the president do? You get this review, you get the report and recommendation. Right. The president must now chair a new paradigm with the state governors as partners and chart a new way forward. That's what we must do. Otherwise, these are the things we'll be seeing.
So let's try to get some answers to questions that have been asked by Nigerians.
Yes.
That's where we started from, reading comments from everyday Nigerians asking those questions. Daniel Emeka is asking particularly, and this is a statement mixed with questions. I don't understand. Kidnappers raided an estate in Abuja, communicated their demands, came back to dump bodies of those that couldn't pay, went back to renew communication of their demands in Abuja, and no one knows who they are or where they went. And a lot of people have been asking, what's going on with tracking kidnappers? Is it that we can't track? In fact, someone said, is it that the federal government doesn't have money to buy call tracker equipment? You have at least some insight into the operations there. Perhaps provide an insight to Nigerians. What exactly is going on?
I would tell you that we have equipment. Sometimes this equipment break down. Sometimes it's also in procurement, and I think that's a bigger problem. You know, in this country, when you see a white man, you think that automatically he's very intelligent. And you can buy something for $50, call it Skylark, 1X, 2X series, whatever, and you then come and sell it to us for $10,000. The person making the purchase decision is probably thinking about his own pocket. You've bought an equipment, there's no in-country after-sale support. If you look at India, their policy now is that for defense procurement, anything they are procuring, they must be able to indigenize it at least 70% going forward. So when we talk about national security, national approach, it's all siloed. Police has their equipment, DSS has their equipment, DIA, NIA, everybody has their equipment. Budget for maintenance is not there. You see, good security is expensive. So the few equipment you have, there's pressure on it. That's on the one hand. Now, like the criminal justice system, there are over 8,000 or so cases waiting for the Supreme Court. In the different police stations, you may have one IPO handling God knows how many cases. So the investigating team are overwhelmed. The State Intelligence Bureau for the police, overwhelmed. They can only pick one or two as much as they can. If there's pressure on them, these people, remember that, they can't come out and protest. They can't come out and make a claim. In Papua New Guinea, for example, the policemen went on strike for pay and for tooling for different work conditions.
And it was chaotic,
pure chaos. So the military, the police, the DSS, they are suffering under the burden of ignorance of our political class, and they cannot speak up. Let me tell you for a fact, a commander wanting to respond will also apply economy of force. He doesn't know what is waiting for him. The experience is that the military pulls out on a fighting patrol. Sometimes the community people, some elements are in connivance with these people. They pull out, they ambush, and then you turn out with 15 people killed. It takes us time to train these people. Maybe you have somebody who is a staff sergeant. Nigeria Army has invested years of training everything that person goes. You can't replace the life, you can't replace the training. You now begin to suffer attrition. Our greatest challenge now, Nigerians must understand, is that we are suffering attrition, internal attrition from these widely dispersed forces. The forces are trying. They are simply overwhelmed, under-resourced, poorly and inadequately structured.
Because we understand that for that kidnapping case in Buhari, yes, there was some response. In fact, speaking to someone in the community said about 20, 25 minutes there was a response. But they were shot at. In fact, I understand that some of them were shot. Someone was killed as well.
You see, you get the point when I say, if I'm the commander, I won't respond immediately with profound respect. I would have to have intelligence on what I'm dealing with.
But you shouldn't be scared. That's the job.
No, that's what I'm telling you, that we fail to understand that the training we give the military is to fight to kill. They are not trained to die.
Okay, we'll come back. I have one question for
Yes.
you, but I want to get some response from him. You made some assertions, and I'm trying to look in between those assertions. Apparently, you're frustrated with the response, the approach, and the gamut of things you expect from the government, from what you said. My straight question is, on the interim, what would you want to be done so that people don't get killed, like I always say, or wake up dead in the nation's capital?
Now, first of all, I want the military manpower attached to all the VIPs in Nigeria to be withdrawn. That's my first appeal to President Tinubu. Let them withdraw it. Let Nigerians enjoy the same security they are enjoying. Secondly, I want the recruitment of the security to be done in every community in the 774 local government in Nigeria. The president should ensure that in every community there is a security man empowered by the government to do the job in his locality. First, we can be able to hold them accountable whenever there is a breakdown in security and whenever we want to gather intelligence. We cannot bring people, foreigners. That is why when Adokoye was saying about people gathering intelligence, we cannot begin to now gather intelligence in a place where we are not too conversant with the terrain or the people. For every bad guy in a community, somebody knows him. One traditional ruler or the other knows him. Now, we have taken security to be a joke in this country, and that is why it is happening the way it is happening. We can no longer gather intelligence. We can no longer invite the DSS, the military, to do their job. Somebody should be able to recommend for every operation. And if at any point there is a failure in that, we can fall back and hold the traditional rulers responsible. We can hold the person in that community responsible. So the issue of using strangers to guide another strange land is not working out in this country. We must work with people who are from that locality, because one, they will have more reasons why they need to allow their people to breathe and live safely. They will also make sure that they are able to fish out. It's just like, for instance, now, I want to shock you today. Did you know that it has gotten to a point that some DPOs in our localities are telling vigilante that whenever you get them, do not bring them to the police station, kill them from the forest. Because when you bring them, there will be a call from above to bring them either to Abuja headquarters or whatever, or command, state command. What a shame. It means that some people are sponsoring these guys, and Nigerian government knows them. What is the essence of all the tracking devices? I have studied the budget that is given on security. They have almost the highest budget in this country. Who is scrutinizing them? Who is checking them? I think I want to go with Mr. Adokoye. Somebody, Mr. President, should checkmate the security of this country. The allowances of some of these policemen is not paid to them. The soldiers, some of them, they don't have their allowances as it is budgeted for. Somebody should be responsible for exposing all this. Nigeria cannot continue to survive in this manner. Sincerely, some of them, when you meet them on the road, as I speak to you now, do you know that you can travel with human head in your boot as long as you have 10,000 naira cash to be given for security? All they will stop you is to ask you, Oga, how far now? Where did they go? And that is all. And that is how bad the security network in Nigeria is. It is so dilapidated. I don't know the best word to describe what Nigerian security is.
All right, Mr. Yusuf, you made an allegation, but of course we can't verify your claim concerning the DPOs and the exchanges you talked about in terms of taking human life, because they are supposed to protect human life. But I'm going to come back to you. Mr. Yusuf, I know you're quite passionate about these issues, but you know we need to speak on things we can verify. All right, but Mr. Adekoya is going to respond to that. But in addition to responding to some of the things he said, I cast my mind back to the carnage on the plateau, as well as what is happening in the nation's capital. The level of insecurity in or around the nation's capital. For me, it sounds like, and for the average Nigerian, sounds an affront on the state. What should be the response?
I remember during the Mongo or Basa incident, the Chief of Army Staff went to Plateau and was doing push-up on national TV. And then I was asking why. They said he's a paratrooper. That's how you motivate your forces. And then I said that that will not amount to anything, that a more dangerous situation was lurking in the corner. We like optics a lot. And I understand that the security forces must reassure the people that they are doing something. But we can't keep painting over the problem. The problem is quite deep-seated. Where do we start from in responding? I think I've spoken to the issues really when you raise about response time. The man clearly is on the ground. He sees the issues. What I will say is that some conversations we can't have on national TV. The presidency leadership, as you have a KPMG do a financial audit, there are people in this country who this is what they do. Invite them to come and do an internal independent audit. What you're asking me when you say we have, and look at where we have the problem. The bigger problem is within food system. Food system security is a big problem because the bulk of these attacks are happening within the food belt of the country. This can destabilize the country, place on the country a great socio-economic toll. Will now leave us to be preoccupied. We are addressing these issues to the detriment of Nigeria's ability to project force, project its national interests within Africa, within ECOWAS and the international community. So basically, some will argue that, some of these issues may also be cross-border influence operations. That's just colloquial speak for what I don't want to say on air. So the approach must be very broad.
Right.
Sorry, let me just round up that most politicians don't understand the difference between national interest, national defense, and national security, and how you pursue national interest and national security. What is hitting us internally has its root in the madness in the Sahel. And we are not postured correctly. When ECOMOG was ECOMOG in ECOWAS, there was a time we had an army. So I will leave it at that, and then we must have some conversations back end. We must restructure and then free up our military to be able to deal with cross-border issues at an international level.
I think the point you made about the happening in the farming communities perhaps answers the question Adeshokwe Abdul-Hakim is asking, that why are these sudden happenings of kidnappings confined within a certain region? That's the point of this conversation, seek to get answers to some of those questions. But take a look at what other people are saying about this. Stephen Onowa says, if kidnappers know they can be tracked, then they will have a rethink. That's what Kingfisher Stephen Onuwa is saying on X, part of a contribution to this conversation. Well,
Onyedikachi is also saying the approach to addressing insecurity in Nigeria should change. The federal government should show more will and brawn. Their faces are known, their location is known, we have the weaponry. Well, do we? What else are we waiting for to wipe these criminals out? It's either we lack the will to confront the terrorists and bandits, or there's connivance. These people are giving us problems. They can't be stronger than the state. I guess that speaks to a lot of the things Mr. Yunusa has said.
And quickly, Engineer Lighthouse says, it's funny how our leadership system works. This kidnapping and insecurity, he said, are political and religious. They are motivated, but together with unemployment and bad leadership, we're talking about a combination of a gamut of issues coming into one.
And this one from WhatsApp, lots of messages coming in on WhatsApp. But Benga Oshidele says there is no rocket science in solving the increasing insecurity in the FCT. Secure the neighboring states and comb all the forests, increase intelligence gathering from the locals, and finally, effective and efficient use of well-trained security personnel. And of course, this is from Benga Oshidele from Houston, Texas, in the USA. We'll take some other messages as they come in, but essentially to make this a well-rounded conversation such that we hear what you are saying across social media, and of course, what our guests are saying as well. But we have to wind down on this conversation. By no means is this an end to the conversation. No. It's just an end to the leg of this conversation, and we have to go right now. We'll have to thank you so much, Mr. Onyekachi Adekoya, security consultant. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the program.
Thank
we appreciate it. And Mr. Yunusa Yusuf, convener Kagariko Local Government Area Youths Kaduna, we thank you. And please let us know what information you have so we can help to ensure that this is brought to an end. Thank you, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a moment now on the show, and when we turn our attention to something that concerns you, turning those disappointments in the employment market into appointment letters. That's the moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Morning Brief. We switch gears now. Besides security, one of the things bothering Nigerians, especially young people, is unemployment. It's almost like a cliche talking about unemployment in the country. We did say that before the NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, changed their methodology to reflect the ILO standard, it was standing at over 30%, but now they say it's 4.2. So some people are not sure what to make of that number, but it's prevalent. Unemployment is all over the place. But there are people in the country that are making the most of the situation, that despite all of this, they found a way somehow to just make ends meet, and they are doing quite well in their chosen fields of endeavor, which is the reason why we're bringing them. Maybe could serve as a motivation for everyone out there who is saying, look, I've gone to school, I've graduated, I had a first class, I had a 2-1 or whatever you graduated with, but there are no jobs for me. What can you do whilst you're waiting for that dream job? Or can you be that job creator or employer of labor? That's why we're being joined in the program by a sales representative in our Lagos studio here, Ms. Victoria Oyama. Ms. Victoria, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
You're not smiling. I thought you make a lot of money. You should be smiling. We also have digital entrepreneur, digital marketing, media, and growth strategist, as well as a life coach, Dr. Samson Olatunde. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let me start with you. They say ladies first. Because the whole idea of this conversation is about the fact that, look, despite what is going on, I was able to make the most out of the situation, and I'm where I am. Maybe you can walk us through your personal journey for a start. Then we can build up the conversation from there.
Okay. So in 2015, I graduated from sociology department. That's Unical.
Oh, you're Malabres.
Yes, I am.
Malabites or Malabres.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so afterwards, I went for my NYC, which was in Ilorin. So that was 2017, 2018. After that, I went into sales. So that's how it's been. Like, it was very difficult getting employed because my dream job was being a human resource manager. So, but that didn't come true because I tried putting CVs here and there, and then I didn't get the job I wanted. So I decided to go into retail sales, which is online marketing. So I sell hairs, I sell wigs, you know, braids and all.
And those things are not cheap. Because I see deals from my wife, they are not cheap. Where your money's going to. Maybe let me just throw it to Bukola. Bukola, I can take it up from there. It's all yours now.
Okay. Well, you didn't allow her finish her story.
No, okay, I thought you were done. You're not done. Okay, go ahead.
I don't think she's done yet.
That's basically what I'm doing right now.
So you're basically selling human hair.
Yes.
And other things, I believe. Okay, let me come to you, Dr. Olatunde. She said something significant, which is the story of most young Nigerians. They studied something, but they're doing something entirely different. I know master's degree holders who have become e-hailing cab drivers. I know master's degree holders who are, what do they call them now? Front desk officers, and you know what's that glorified word for messengers in offices. There are teachers who are not necessarily teachers who wanted to be teachers in the first place, but because they didn't get their dream jobs. So you are the life coach. What would you say to them based on your own personal experience, what you've been able to achieve for yourself?
So I think that basically, if you look at what is happening in the educational system, you realize that the curriculum that we have needs a lot of overhauling, in the sense that what they're teaching us is just make people get into school just to pass their exams, not really about the aftermath of the school, right? So maybe I'm lucky enough to get into school, study business administration, and then I'm in business. But in many cases, people, the course they do is different from what they're doing in real life. So one of the things I tell people is there's a part of you that is unique, that people always talk about, which we call passion. I mean, so how do you understand the business side of your passion is what gives you money in the marketplace. Now, you have a lot of professors who are extremely poor. Why are they poor? They're knowledgeable, but they don't understand the business side of that knowledge that they have. And then you know that knowledge has two keywords, know and edge. What you know gives you an edge, but application of what you know gives you the money that we are talking about. So the reality about this is that people need to begin to think about what they are passionate about or the opportunities in the marketplace and see how they can turn it into business. Now, just take an example from our story. She tried submitting CV and she realized that I think I have a side of me that I can jump on to look at a way of solving critical needs in exchange for value. So can I become a sales rep and then begin to look for a way to meet people's needs? Now, as I sit down here, from my head to my toe, there are business opportunity. We are all wearing clothes. That means there's business from it. Your hair, there's business from it. You see people using earrings, my wristwatch, so now the challenge is, can people think in that direction and see that there's money, people are the money, but having to solve their problem in exchange for value is what you should think about. I was privileged to start when I was in school. I mean, so on the level I got into school, my parent was doing everything for us, and I just thought about it. If I lose my parent, I'm going to be out of school. And then in my class, we had over 5,000 people receiving lectures. No mic.
Was it a GST?
What? It was Olabisi Obanjo University.
No, what course was that? Was it a GST course?
It was a normal. No, we had 5,000 people in my department, business administration.
Okay. The whole department.
Okay.
Yes, the whole department.
Okay, I was scared. Like, we need to be clear.
Okay. So when you get into school, there's no LED screen, no sound. You have to get into that place so that you can sit in the first 3 rows, right? If not, then you go read and then look for a way to pass your exam. And then I saw opportunity. These are people. And then then they will tell you that you cannot be gainfully employed if you don't know how to use the system. And that was my joker. That was what I was selling. What will happen to you after you have left school 4 years and you don't know how to use the system? You cannot be gainfully employed. So I began to look at, okay, how can I show people how to use the system in exchange for value? So can I do an after class? Can I go to school fellowships? And that was how I started.
So you basically helped people with, let's say, computer literacy, which was big at that time.
Yeah.
Still big now. A fantastic story. I'm glad you also shared some part of your personal story with us, so a lot of people can perhaps see themselves in your story. And I'd like to come to you. How much do I need to start a business?
Maybe you would be specific, hair business.
Okay,
yeah,
but the average amount to start, well, hair business is doing well, and we can tell because we see where the money is going to these days. But how much would you need to start a business? What are the things you need to put in place if you want to start a business? And start by employing yourself first. For you can share your personal experience. How much did you start with? You can share some part of your profits. LIS
is not listening.
So a lot of people see that, okay, these things are actually possible.
So it's not as much as how much you can start with, especially in the world we are in now. It's digital. So sometimes just from the comfort of your home, it depends on what you're looking at. Like for the hair business, you don't need so much capital to start. You could start small. It depends on what you have. And then you put it out there. And the world would, start looking at it. And that's how you make money from it.
So people buy these things from
Yes.
you. On an average, how much sales do you make?
You mean in a month or in a day?
Wow.
And in addition to that, how much really do you need? I'm sure that a lot of Nigerians would like to know how much do you really need to start a hair business?
So it depends. You could start with hair blends. If you're starting, even 100,000 is enough or less. So you just need to put the pictures out there, and then you can make profits from it. Hair blends, you can get hair blends for 10,000.
For those who don't know what hair blends are.
But if you want to do something, you have to go make your research, and then you would know how to.
Okay, so let me just rephrase that question for us.
Oh, okay.
The men, we don't know what hair
What
blends
is hair blends? What is it?
No. Jeffrey and Kyle, they really don't need to know. Just provide the money.
No, we need to know.
No, because I'm worried because there's this one they call frontal. When they tell me the amount, that's how is this small thing this expensive?
Because it's human hair. So hair blends, they are cheaper because it's fiber and then a little bit of human hair. But it's not totally
You
human
revealed
hair.
our secret, Victoria. I was hoping you would know, but it's okay.
Okay, Kyle, do you want to
No, that's for those who are interested in it, so they are aware of what.
Oh, absolutely. But I was also asking how profitable is the business and how do you decide what to go into? Because I think there's a trend which I'm very wary of. People just following, oh, this is the business to do. Everybody does it. Why did you choose hair? Because it might not be hair for some people. It might be shoes. It might not be shoes for some people. It might be maybe just rendering services. So why did you decide hair? Why did you go into that line so that people can perhaps again learn from that?
Okay. Fashion has always been my style right from time. So it's more of going for your passion. So it's just the passion. And then you know that you can make money out of it.
Well, you still haven't told us your profit. While you reflect on that, let me come to Dr. Olatunde. Your story is interesting and your journey is significant. You chanced upon a part of what you're doing as a university student, and that is quite instructive for many Nigerian youths who may not need to necessarily wait until graduation day, before they begin to explore the opportunities that are bound. What are the opportunities that are in the school community, the skill acquisition opportunities that they can explore such that they can be gainfully employed before they get into the labor market?
Okay, so I'm just going to use my own practical story on how I was able to start and then scale up and all of that. You know, you always have the final year students, and then they want to make research about their project. So you could just become a freelancer. If you're good in making research on the internet, that's a lot of money for you, because at the point I was rejecting jobs, you know, people don't have that time to research. So you research like a project, and then you get paid for it. And you can do 5, 10, 20, depends on your capacity of what you can take. And then you have the materials available for them. We had people that were writing, they were good writers. They could put the thoughts together. So it could be content writing. And then they put their project
within
together.
The school community.
Within the school, yeah, they put the project together. So somebody do the research, they give to you, you will work it, and then chapter 1, chapter 2, and then you give to the person. We had people that were just strictly into computer, photocopy, printing and all of that, and then they were able to just come up with a mini printer and all of that, and then they print project for people, do the lamination and all of that. I mean, I had a friend, 4 of us were in school, 2 people said they wanted to come out with first class. I said I was going to be out of the university without having an extra year, but I have a business running. And the other guy was a photographer, so he's always praying for this lecturer not to come to class on time because before the lecturer comes in, he's taking a lot of pictures. Before the lecturer comes back, he's printed it, and he was strictly making money. I mean, by the time we were leaving school, final year, he had 4 studios to himself, right? So it means that he made the money from the opportunity by trying to just take pictures of people, looking for where to print it, making it available, and then put his charges on it and all of that. That means that that's business opportunity within the school environment, which is practical that I saw. And then you have the aspect of, I mean, it was really rampant then. Yahoo was really rampant. So there was this guy that was very good in cybersecurity.
It's still rampant, by the way.
It's still even rampant, yeah. And then this guy can literally take your phone, put all of the measures you need to put in place and all of that. And it was like, either he's repairing phone, or he's putting security measure and all of that. And it was just like a phone repairer making money from it. Now, all of this happened within the student environment, and they were still students going for lectures and trying to just do this side also to make money for themselves. That's just what happened within, for instance, the student environment.
Let's see how we can maybe elevate the conversation a bit further at the macroeconomic level. And I like to look at data because it is data we can always speak to. And I'm curious. I remember that in 2020, when the MBS released the number of states with highest high unemployment, as much as 48%. You have states that are oil producing. Imo, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, recording quite high numbers. In fact, by the next year, oil producing states as well have, because we're under the Niger Delta Development Commission, we have 9 states. 2 from the southeast and the rest from the south and Ondo and all of that. But when you look at the unemployment numbers, it's confusing that states with high earnings are now victims of high unemployment. Maybe you can help me make sense of that. And how the young people within that space who are listening to this program can look at these spaces and have a rethink. Because the idea that we're blessed with natural resources, is it perhaps making people laid back or over-dependence on government? What exactly is the missing link, and how can they make sense out of all of this? Because it's worrying to see this this correlation or this disparity, if I will.
I think I'll put it this way. You see, it's a quote that has always been with me and has really helped me to discover many things. What you don't have is not what limits you. It's what you have, but you don't know how to utilize it. So if there are things outside my control, it means I don't need it at that point. It will always come to me if I'm able to emerge and continue with what I'm doing consistently. I think what has happened is the fact that in any marketplace, in youth market, you have 3 sets of people. You have the informed, misinformed, and non-informed, right? So what has made both of us to be here is probably information that we're able to utilize, right? So we can say we are informed. And then why you guys are giving us all of the statistics and all of that is because you have also done research. So you will say that everybody on this table is informed about what is happening. Then you have the misinformed. They never read, they never make research, they never double check. It's what people say. So what I say is what they pick on to act on. Either it's good, it's bad, and then they face all of these consequences. But you have the people that are, illiterate. They don't understand what happens in the environment, and then you have the larger chunk of these people within that space. So how do we put this? I would say that, based on what you just said now, within each of all of these states that you're talking about, I feel that many young people, that's the reality, don't want to go through the process. They just want to jump into the shortcuts and get things happen. Now, this is a journey of over 17 years for me in the tech space, right? Without leaving the tech space, consistently looking for a way to emerge and look for opportunity, I would have moved to other markets. But I realized that, there's a lot within this tech space that can make money for me. So if people can pull through, so what you're currently saying, we can't say why those people within the states that has a lot of resources are not doing well. But generally, I'll put it this way, that many people that are doing amazing stuff out there are people that have looked at the problem, but realize that we have the problem. We have the problem of insecurity. We have the problem of infrastructure. All of that, we have it. It's staring at us. But how do I discover the solution to create value in exchange for money for myself?
So what I also find rather interesting is the fact that both of your entrepreneurial endeavors actually align in some sense. You are a sales person, you sell hair online. And you are a digital entrepreneur. Good. And I think this speaks to the fact that there must also be partnership. If you want to go far, they always say you can't go alone. If you want to go fast, you can go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to go with people. But just one advice from each of you as we wind down. And I'd like you to speak to handling, because if you're doing business, you have to handle clients, interface with customers. And they say customer is king until they stop paying you or they are owing you. They're no more king. So one advice from each of you as we wind down on this conversation. If there's someone out there who wants to pursue this entrepreneurial dream, which by the way is not easy, as I've heard.
So my advice to anybody who wants to toe the path of being an entrepreneur is to know that it's not easy, because when you start, it's going to be very slow. But you have to keep pushing, because at the end of the day, it's the end goal that you'll be looking at. So as much effort as you put in, you'll get results.
Everyday stories. So what's your, is it a handle business thing? If I want to buy hair, okay, not me, but everybody wants to buy hair from you, where do they go to?
So I have a page on TikTok.
Right, so you use TikTok?
Yes.
Fantastic. Final 30 seconds.
So I think that it's important for people to think about taking their business to the global world, which is the internet. And it is easier for you to start because you already have the people out there. Just like you're talking about collaboration. Imagine you're doing business and you already have people on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all of that. If you are able to locate where they are in terms of niche marketing, then you're able to position where you have. So whatever you have, and you feel you're passionate about it, you know that this will help people, you've done the research very well, take it online. Yeah. Many of us buy what we call how-to products. The hair is something that will give me value. Whatever I buy is something that will give me value. So what I think people need to do now is begin to look for a way to package what they have and show it to the marketplace that we have in the global world. Now, it's easier to start. You can start different businesses without even spending money. It's just about you knowing where to go, what to do, and how to be able to connect with people, and then you can begin to make money for yourself.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, as always, for coming through on the program. Your insights are quite, as much as we want to have it, we want to have you guys talk, especially the hair business, because I know a lot of ladies who want to know how much they can spend in starting that business. But we must thank you, Ms. Victoria Onyama, sales representative, and Imala Breast, by the way, and Dr. Samson Olatunde, digital entrepreneur, digital marketing, media and growth strategist, life coach. Thank you both for coming on the program. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to go on a quick break now. When we come back, we'll switch gears. To talk about, the exciting world of entertainment. The president, or President Bola Tinubu, has actually repurposed that ministry. It's now called, with all the names, culture, creative economy, and all of that. So we're going to explore that and the people in that industry. We're joined by the popular Spiff on the Johnsons right here on the Morning Brief. Join us again.
Good day, sir. Please help me, sir. Please, sir, assist me.
What is the problem, young lady?
The taxi I entered just robbed me of everything. I just dropped me here.
Sorry, I hope you're not hurt or they did not do anything to you.
No, I'm fine, sir. But please help me. Please, sir. Please.
But I just getting.
God bless you, sir, for me. God bless you very much. Thank you.
Young lady, this is as far as I can carry you because that's my destination. So please calm down.
I beg, pay me my money, Jare. Wait. You think you go just service me finish? Come dump me for here. Don't go pay my money.
Are you okay, young lady? Service what? Please come down from my car, please. I don't have time. Come down from my car, please.
I promise you. I am as shocked as you are.
Well, you'll be even more shocked by the time we progress into this next segment on the program. Welcome back to the morning brief. And just before that, Jeffrey did say that the president had repurposed the new Ministry of Culture. And to that extent, he's also made some appointments in recent times that has got people talking and raising hopes indeed about the industry. The appointment of Ali Nuhu as director of the Nigerian Film Corporation. Well, we have one of Nuhu's colleagues in the film industry on the program today. So let's welcome Samuel Ajibola, actor, Nollywood. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, one of the first few things that I plan to say to you is that you are completely different from the character that you portray. Are you this cool, or you're just able to transit beautifully into your character?
Well, I've always been this cool, introverted, calm, but growing in the creative industry has made me understand how I need to diversify my talents and interpret characters, different from who I am. So I've always enjoyed doing it.
Interesting. So let's start with the appointment and the repurposing of the industry. What's the potential that you see with this new outlook of the Culture Ministry and the appointments, that the president has made? What does it portend for the entertainment sector?
Great. I would like to start by commending the president on making such let's say, spot-on appointments for at least people that I know in my industry. Mr. Ali Nuhu, like you mentioned earlier, the Nigerian Film Corporation, spot on, as well as Dr. Shuaib Husseini, who I also know is also brilliant and has also, been given a great appointment. So I think it's spot on. I think it brings great hope to the creative industry, as well as the other people that were also, appointed.
I mean, 10 of them, 10 CEOs for
Obi Ashika is there as well.
Under the Ministry of Arts. I need to get this
creative economy.
Arts, culture, and creative economy. Yes. So essentially repurposing, as we've talked about. We always say that there is a lot of potential in that industry, and yesterday was the Emmys, right? Yes. And we saw how big it was, how some of those coveted awards were celebrated, how the event went. But behind that is a major industry. They have series, movies. Essentially, television is big, and we've seen the fact that our population is huge. We're not bereft of creative ideas and creative people. I mean, that was just a skit that you did. The skit industry, there's a skit industry, literally,
right. Content creation
that is making waves. So it's been difficult to really move the needle because there's a lot of content, but we've not exactly seen that explosion that we want in terms of earnings for practitioners like you, job creation. Yes, we've seen a lot, but not as it ought to be. So how do we move that needle? Because I know there's a job of work ahead of them, but as someone who's in that sector, if you could identify areas that you say, we need to focus on this, and if we do, it will move that needle in the appropriate direction. What will it be?
Great, thank you for that question. I've always been a proponent of telling people that the Nigerian film industry is relatively young to Hollywood and Bollywood. I mean, we're basically around 30 years or so. And if we begin to compare these industries, we would see the amount of efforts that has been put into, the other industries. For example, Hollywood. There's literally almost no film you watch that you don't see MGM, you don't see, Disney or some of these multinational companies that are able to bring such huge finances to, produce such films. They can drop as much as even $100 million. And so with that kind of money to invest, every aspect, every department, every personnel, every cast, every crew is sure to be able to at least, receive some very good remuneration compared to Nollywood here, where we're still growing on individual, producers and a few corporate, producers. So we still have that challenge of not being fully structured in terms of having huge, global companies that are ready to invest. So while we still have that, I also believe that we still have a problem of, restructuring ourselves in terms of how we organize things in the industry. The creative industry over here just started from individuals who were just passionate and felt that, okay, they wanted to do this, and had a few people that, okay, I had interest in this, why can't I put my money in this? And what that does is to limit the amount of finances that is available to any production. Thankfully now we are getting to a stage where we're seeing people that are putting and donating in large amounts of money, hundreds and millions of naira into productions. And we can see the effect of it. We really tell that, the industry has grown to an extent. So the more we get to such investments, the more we are able to come together as a people and work on the core areas where we need to get, the better the industry will be.
So you've made an important point, which I may want you to expatiate on. Now that a tribe called Judah has done over $1 billion, and we've seen big box office numbers as well, are you saying this is the right time to aggregate the industry so that it's not just pockets of success? So rather than have a Funke, Toyin, or all of these people, splitting energies, that as a businessman, he comes around, he looks at you, he knows that this industry is volatile, that, look, everybody did the heavy lifting, there are no guarantees as much as they were expected to be. Distribution, it could be a challenge for them. So they look at, for the businessman, there's something he's looking at. For MGN and Universal and all of these people, before they put money, there's a structure on how to make the money back. Exactly. So are you saying right now it is time for the industry to begin to talk about collapsing these, production houses, these small, permit me to use that word, please.
Of course.
These small production houses that we can now have, just like what the APC did before they could see the PDP. About 4 or 5 parties had to come together, including ABGA, New PDP, ACN, NNPP, all of that. Is it time now we begin to think of, say, let's recapitalize? I think that's what I was looking for. Recapitalize, like the bank, to say, before we can call you a proper production house, maybe you should be talking about 20 billion before you can be called a production house. So we can do big budgets. Is that what you're saying?
Well, not really.
Okay.
The reason why I would say that is, even as Hollywood is presently, they still have small budget productions. They still have individuals who finance movies. I can mention a few. I mean, Chuck Lorre, Dick Wolf, these are people that have personally funded their shows, and their shows are doing quite well. But then again, like I said, there would always be small, medium, and large, productions.
Okay.
But the larger productions, like I mentioned in Hollywood, have the backings of such huge companies. And if we could get such huge companies here to invest in it, then we also have a chance.
So when you say huge company, do you mean that the industry itself has to create these huge companies, or maybe a bank, X bank, has to now say, we are expanding our business beyond banking to say we're going into production? Is that what because yes. we are looking for answers here.
It could come in any form. It could also come in the form of the government. I mean, for years now, the creative industry has really been looking for the government to take the industry serious. And right now we're seeing the president doing that. So it's a step in the right direction. But like you mentioned earlier, the Nigerian industry also has its own fair of challenges that is affecting people investing. And the one everyone knows is piracy. Sadly to say, even as much as these new big films we are seeing are coming out, we're already seeing them pirated.
Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes. There's still that piracy?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's a very, very huge market.
No, like
we know you have a question.
I didn't imply anything. Just go on.
That's very suspect. but now that the president has repurposed the ministry and we have a creative economy component of it, tie that to how your colleagues are always calling for government intervention. Government needs to pump in more money into the industry. What type of intervention do you want to see to engender the intervention of those big corporations that would have that confidence to bring in put their money into Nollywood?
Institutional conventions to start with. That's where we first need to get it right. And then if we also tackle piracy, I mean, that would literally solve almost 80% of the problem.
Yeah. So let's talk personal. A lot of people want to know about you.
Let's leave the industry.
You know, the hard conversation. And two things. By the way, MGM, I actually saw MGM on one of the movies, Breath of Life.
Yes.
So
it's a fantastic movie.
The fact that we're having
that movie is a class act.
Corporations coming in, just to mention, and a couple of other movies where you see those big names and you're like, oh, nice. But let's talk about you. A lot of people still call you Spiff, even though you've not been on the Johnsons for 2 to 3 years. But you know how these things are. People just pair you with that. But I'd like to go a bit personal. Okay. And we want to tie this to some trend we've seen of late. Cyberbullying and the rest. You and your wife have come under some fair share of cyberbullying, and you've had to take, I think, legal action.
Yes, I did.
This is a part a lot of people don't understand about people who are in public, you know, space, who have put their lives out there in the public. The fact that you have your emotions and you are a human being. You're beyond that character, right? So I'd like you to speak to that. How are you able to handle all of those, you know, trash talk that people were throwing at you and the rest? And what would you like to tell the fans out there? Maybe we can, you know, get halfway. You get?
Okay, let me answer your first question. You talked about me leaving the Johnsons and being onto other things. So yes, I'm an intuitive person. I'm someone that is led by my gut. And I also believe in time and purpose. I believe everything has time, everything has a purpose on the earth. I spent 9 years on the Johnsons. It's quite a long time.
9 years.
Investing into someone else's dream. And at that time, even before then, I had already started running Daily Issues, which is the comedy skit you run. Yeah. I started in 2016. You know, so I started building up my own thing to become an emerging producer and a director. So I got to the point where I felt like, oh, I needed to take that bold step to leave my comfort zone, which everybody already knew that I was doing great. So I needed to leave it because naturally I'm a very adventurous person and I'm a big risk taker. I was well aware of the risk I was going to take, but like I said, I listened to my guts, and till date I haven't regretted it. In fact, leaving has re-established me and redefined me more as a producer and a director. I've directed, I've done, you know, I'm working as a producer on a very big project. In fact, big project.
This year?
Yes. Started from last year. In fact, from last year.
Like, is it coming out this year?
Well, I don't know. We just started pre-production.
You can give us an exclusive. Yeah, don't worry. We won't tell anybody. We promise you.
It's the brief. We're going to make it brief. I'm still under, you know, agreements that I can't speak of. But I can tell you categorically that they are big productions. They're really big productions that I'm working on. And that's for that. As regarding the issue of cyberbullying.
Yeah.
Well, it is no new news that Nigerians are very opinionated people. And even in their opinion, a lot of those opinions come from, you know, misinformed positions. The picture that caused the stir was a picture of me and my wife with the former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, of whom I am the youth ambassador to the Youth Development Center of the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library. So I have a relationship with him. He is a huge mentor to my life. And so from time to time, I go there, I visit him. And on one of those cases, after I just had my son, I took him to see him. And, you know, people mistook or started to assume that they first started to say, okay, my wife was a secretary to this. Then he moved from that to, oh, he's the true father of my son, of which I won't deny, I'm saying this live on air. That picture, yes, my son does look like him there. But the circumstances around it, you know, and it's a picture, so it's a still picture. It's a second, it's a moment of which my son was just waking up from sleep when we arrived. So he was just booting and he had those eye bags. So that those eye bags made him look like the former president. And people were all out, you know, people were claiming like they were 100% sure that, you know, the former president was the true father of my son. As someone who has been in the industry for almost 30 years, and I started as a young child actor, acting in films like Onome, Tears for Love, Conspiracy, I've been there, I've seen the whole 9 yards. I understand that sometimes people always talk. Sometimes you just need to let it go. But because that issue was beginning to linger for 2 years, and as a man who is married, a responsible man, I had to stand up for my wife. I had to stand up for my son. It got to a point I knew, okay, I needed to take legal actions to make people realize that, yes, you may have opinions, but you don't necessarily have to bring it to the public light. And, be insensitive to whoever is at the backlash of it. Because if we put ourselves in the same shoes, if it was them in that shoes, how would they feel? But this is something that I've had talk with my wife. I've let her know these are the things that comes with being in this industry. So we were prepared already. But we needed to use someone as a scapegoat, and that was the reason why we decided to take legal actions.
Fantastic response you had, because these are some of the backlash that comes with fame. That's why they say, if you can't face the heat, leave the kitchen. It's always. But time is almost. I wanted to talk about this stereotype. In fact, even when I see you, I drive around and I see you like. The first thing is Spiff.
Do the Spiff act.
So, guys, you're going to do the Spiff.
Spiff not going to leave you.
So you're going to do the Spiff.
Maybe you should address that.
You're going to do the Spiff act. It's called stereotyping or typecasting. That's what they call it.
Stereotype, actually.
Yeah, stereotype, and then sometimes they typecast you because I know that moving from humor or comedy to something serious, typecasting can play a role in people taking you a bit serious. So maybe address that and give us a bit of the Spiff character. We always have people do their thing when they come here, so please forgive us.
Okay, no problem. And listen to So, the Spiff name is something I have accepted that would stay with me for probably as long as I live. And I will not be the first person or the first actor to experience that. We know of Asofia. We know of Mr. Ibu. These are not their real names. In fact, a lot of people don't even know my real name. He says Spiff, and I'm like, what's your name? I say, Samuel. Are you a Yoruba person? I say, yes. Oh, right. So that is always going to be part of me. But in terms of me still portraying the character, I felt, just like you mentioned, because of the stereotype issue we have in this country or in the industry, I needed to be able to step away from that character and let people see me in other lights.
Yeah. Fantastic.
A lot of Hollywood actors have done that. I mean, Will Smith started off as a comic actor.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't playing, foolish thing, but he grew into other things. And that's what I'm doing. I'm transitioning from, in fact, even before I became a comic actor, I had already started acting, drama and serious films before. But a lot of people didn't know me from that. The Johnsons was just years, the show that was every day, in people's faces and for years. So people got used to. In fact, a lot of people believe that is my true life.
Okay. There's a lot to talk about Mr. Samuel Spiff Ajibola. Permit me to say that way. But we're running out of time. We're totally out of time. So we need to go. So we're going to just tell the people bye-bye or goodbye. And then you're going to close the show for us with your speed voice. The show is called The Morning Brief. So you say your name and say, see you tomorrow on The Morning Brief. That's what you do for us.
With the Spiff character.
With the Spiff character. So, hey, that's the show for you. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
Thank you so much for watching. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Kayode Okikele.
And I'm Samuel Ajibola, a.k.a. Spiff. Keep watching The Breakfast Show. No change them. We change them, we go change them for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you so much.